together as a group. Thank you for all the blessings, God. Pray tonight that you would guide us, lead us throughout the evening. Pray that you would bless those that aren't here. God, pray for blessings for our community, our teachers, our staff, our students throughout the summer as they're getting refreshed, reset for the school year upcoming. Pray for blessings for them and just help throughout their summer and as they prepare. Pray that you guide us this evening, give us wisdom, give us guidance in all our decisions we're faced with, and may we lean to you and look to you for divine wisdom when we pray. In your name, amen.
Amen. Now, if we can stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, and it's going to be led by Caroline and Cole Bates. We're going to face the flag and hand over heart.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Amber.
Ms. Bates, when you leave, will you try to leave the door where it's just a little
Yes.
bit ajar?
I will do that, yes. Okay, so we have no citizen participation, so there'll be no names for that. Okay, so, so the guest list, will include John, Amber, Caroline, and Cole, so those will be our guests for the evening. Okay, so we'll move to consent agenda. Item 5.1. Everyone take a look through your minutes, we've probably already looked through them, and let us know if there's any changes. So there's two sets, one from the budget workshop. And one from the regular meeting right after that. Did anybody have any changes? Okay. So then let's move to 5.2, the comparison of revenue to budget.
As you can see, we're winding the year down. We spent 92% of our budget, we received 90% of our revenue, which is very, very close. Part of that is that we bought those 3 buses that we have not been reimbursed for, but she promised me this morning and on
Promised it
Friday and whatever, that by the end of the month we'll have it. And we did get another note today saying that they had to make a correction because they said they had our address at 435 South Texas instead of 425, so it took 2 typed pages to correct that. But anyway, we are closer, and there's nothing wrong with it except for some reason they're dragging their feet. But we're gonna get that money. I do have made such good friends with her that I now know her cell number, and so I call her on her cell. We're closer on that. That'll make Mr. Thompson real happy when that budget airline is not overspent. And you can talk about the tax collections or?
Yes,
the-
I saw that line item, so 52,000 collected since,
Well, you know, on the,
it was 99% last time that we collected, and so
yeah, well,
now.
we're still collecting money. This may be an old thing on the script, Rachel, I may not have changed that, but this is what's correct is on the,
I think it's this 52,000.
it's
that's on
52,000.
there. Yeah,
I think on the script, I just didn't change it from last
from,
time.
yeah, that was 63 was last
Yeah.
time, yeah.
So, anyway, gradually comes in. One of the reasons we normally collect over 100%, it looks like you would, and we don't always, but it's usually 98 or 99, is because of delinquent taxes, and when delinquent taxes are paid, there's a penalty, so you collect a little more, but for the most part, we're right on. To vary just a little bit from the agenda, I know you've all read, and I forwarded you some things about the tax bill that has passed, which raised the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. It's supposed to totally reimburse the school district so that we'll still just get the same amount of money. So, but then when I was listening last night, they said that even though the governor signs it, is this right, Dr. Roswell? I think it is, that the legislature will put it on the voting agenda, and we'll have to vote for it.
And it won't
And
come
no,
into effect until,
they said then that they will make it retroactive
okay.
for this year's taxes, which I was afraid that they put it on the
When does
thing.
legislature?
Well, in November is when we vote on it,
That's when we vote.
and most people haven't paid their taxes in, but I think the tax bill usually has gone out.
It has, it comes out in October, and usually the first payment, well, it depends on, people split them up different ways, but if you're paying, you know, lump sum, it's January. But I think the first payment for some people is actually in November.
Well,
It's gonna be interesting how that works then.
I think probably, I'll talk to Joanne, she probably just won't send out the tax bills until
Mhm.
after the vote. That
Because
would
I think
be,
people that pay in quarters, don't they
that
pay
would
the
be
first
the-
week of November?
that would be the wise thing to do.
But funny thing is, Eastland,
Uh-huh.
they send out theirs in September or August.
But that wasn't the bill, was it?
No, they send their property tax,
Yeah,
The
it's
values
bill.
and
Yeah, it's
everything.
no, that's the bill.
Yeah, cause the estimate would have come out, you know,
Because
May
I
or.
know Clifford used to pay in
Mhm.
September, October
Yeah.
every year.
Your estimate is mandated in that timeframe.
Yeah.
It has to be made.
The estimate is, yeah. Well, anyway, it'll be voted on, I'm sorry, I should ask you, John, but it'll be voted on in November, and then it is going to be retroactive for this year. Is that what you understand?
I will let you know at this point in my life. So,
Well, anyway, yeah, that is passed now, so the governor says he will call another special session in September, and he'll talk about, our favorite subject, vouchers, at that time.
So on the property tax, that's the most important piece is the homestead.
That's
Was
the,
there another one that was,
there's, if you were 65 and older and your value, I don't understand all of the other, but there's some other little things that will lower the property tax. And it can't go up more than, how much a year? Your value can increase more than a certain amount a year. There were some stop gaps in
they
it,
were capping?
yeah. So I think it'll be more fair for taxpayers. Of course, this will mean a really huge amount to, I think, to our taxpayers, because we'll get this, and then we'll also pay our bond off this year, so, this should be really good news for Comanche County, or the ISD. That's
But the
good.
state is going to close the gap, cause that's what worried me, if 100,000, raising it to 100,000.
So that's what they're going to do with the surplus of tax fund, property taxes, so
Part
now
of
they're gonna use that.
Part of it. They said that would be hold harmless for us for at least 3 years. I don't know how they can promise it for 3 years, because they're only talking about 2 years, but they did say that at one time, that for 3 years it'd be hold harmless for us. I'm thinking it's more like 2 years, that's all that the present legislators could guarantee. But anyway, for 2 years, will be fine, and then by then, maybe there'll be another surplus. You know, the surplus is mainly because of sales tax and the fact that the state hasn't been paying their fair share of school funding anyway.
And oil is a burden.
Yeah. But, anyway, it is good news for our taxpayers, and that's good. So, anyway, we're in really good shape, so I would ask you to approve this.
Okay, so I believe we are looking for that motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Okay. I'll second. All right, second is Terrell. All those in favor? So that's unanimous, 6 votes, okay. Discussion items, 6.1, John, you're the only one here, if you could cover these canvas reports for us.
Everything's fine.
Well, we are staffed, I can give you that report, we are fully staffed as of this afternoon. Now, in the morning, I can't guarantee you, but to this afternoon, we're fully staffed. I think we have some really, good replacements, and the principals have worked very hard to be very selective. We're staffed, the restrooms at the middle school they're getting all new fixtures and new stalls and everything in that front restroom that I believe you told me that you used when you were in middle school.
So Rachel said it was her sixth grade, that building was brand new.
Oh, okay. And anyway, they're getting that done, the water wells are now operational, we are, the fencing people are supposed to be here to redo the elementary fence next week or this time, at the end of this week, which will really dress it up and make it a lot safer.
Chain link outer.
Uh-huh. Mhm. Yeah. It's not gonna be chain link, it's gonna be,
It's the no climb,
yeah,
and then they'll combine, putting in a little extra parking, right,
Yeah.
is what David said.
so it gives some extra parking, because that's one of the things that we really don't have enough of. If you've ever tried to visit over there during the daytime, it's pretty close. So anyway, everything's good, teachers are back, they always come back after the 4th of July, and they're excited, and we had some trainings going on, and it's been a good time, so.
Wonderful, I know David said the other day that they had seated at elementary, and maybe the band practiced at elementary, at Water.
Yeah.
So, lots of good time for growing. Okay, so, the safety audit update, I believe we are going to hold off on that, or did he give you a little bit of information?
We have nothing new. We had all 3 of our campuses were audited during the school year and all passed with flying colors. There were no findings on any of the campuses. We are updating our, safety plan, and I think the threat assessment team meets,
I was gonna say, I'm checking right now to see what he said. It should, I think it's the 19th, and
It's
it's
this
at
week.
3 p.m., is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, and I think by rule you're on it, and Dr. Boswell, are you on it?
Yeah, Wednesday, 3 p.m., school safety and security team, it's in the high school library, so if you're interested in coming. So before we had 2 individuals, that were on there, it was myself and someone else, I feel like it was Josh, and then maybe Josh rolled off and we didn't replace
I
him
think
with another one.
It's
It's always the president.
It's
that's
not our
the-
choice.
Yeah.
It's not our choice, it's the president and,
Mhm. Yep.
president and vice president, I believe, are
Wednesday, 3
automatically on
p.m.
that. So, it'll be at the high.
And it's a really interesting one.
Yeah. But anyway, that is all good, so.
Okay, the human trafficking, video discussion.
Okay, I sent it out to you, but I don't know if all of you had time to watch it or not. It's about 20 minutes, is that all?
Okay, she said
35
38,
minutes.
yeah, 38.
Well, anyway, I watched it again, it was the same one we watched last year, so I've sent it out to everyone. When you finished it, just, let me know, and I am now a licensed provider, and so I can give that credit to us. But I went to another meeting the other day, and, at that meeting, they talked about human trafficking, and she passed out these cards. And so I asked for some for you all, just so you'd have them. 4, 5, okay. And, I think that just kind of a little handy thing to have. They're saying that human trafficking is really now probably more profitable for those who are doing it than the drug traffic problem. And,
You can sell a person one time, you can sell drugs.
and it's just frightening of the fact that it's going on.
This one's done.
Okay, good deal. But it's made me a lot more aware of my surroundings, and I hope it will you all, not only for other people, but for yourselves, your wives and your children and your husbands and whatever, because I don't think that it's just children, and I don't think it's just women. I think it's boys and men and they just take you, and they sell you, and it's a huge problem. So please watch that, and we'll get our credit. We will be also having our staff watch this and have some other trainings for staff also on human trafficking, since it is a big thing. So.
Did I read that we need to put it in something?
Posted, it's posted on all our campuses in the correct size and everything. The legislature, I will talk about that later, that it's in here. The legislature voted to not make private schools do that, but but we do, I'm not opposed to having it posted, but private schools no longer have to post it. But public schools still do. But I still think it's important. We have it posted at the campuses and the football field, and we posted it everywhere, and it's a big sign, so. Okay.
Okay, 6.4, is a little bit more on that horse training opportunities.
That's just online training, as I find out about things, I always try to get them in here.
Okay,
Okay, I have a question. It says over here that the school adopts and implements a policy. Do you already have, don't we already have a policy?
TASB takes care of that for us, and yes, it's in board policy.
Because haven't we always had one
For a
for sex
while.
abuse and
Yeah, it's,
just not
this is like new.
trafficking per se?
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
That's I think the beauty of belonging to TASB and paying for their services is that they do keep us up to date on things that we have to have, and really ahead of the game.
Dr. Nerval, also it says it's in the district improvement plan.
Yes,
Please check the website. It shows, it has the 2021 DIP and CIP.
Mhm.
But when you go to each campus, they have the 22-23. So check it out.
well, because we're getting a new website, I hope it's gonna be perfect,
Mhm.
and it'll be the 23, 24.
Will that be at the time school
We
starts?
plan to launch it on the 7th, which is the day before the teachers come back. And then on the 8th, we're gonna talk to the teachers about it and get them to go on and play with it and give us feedback. But we're planning to launch it on August the 7th. So they're working on it now. Good, but if you notice things that aren't on there, don't hesitate to call us, because there's a monumental amount of things that need to be on there.
Okay, the first reading of update 121.
Okay, I put the explanatory notes in here. I do have the blue copy that we keep a hard copy here in the office. These will be posted online after the second reading. So if you notice, I've gone through and underlined in red. I use this during my administrative meetings, and we go over it and talk about it, and talk about what we've done, make sure that we've done everything legal that's supposed to be in here. Most of this, I think almost all of this, there's a few, local things, but very few. But most of these things are legal.
Okay, so anything new you've already underlined for us?
There's a place in here about, transfer students, if there wouldn't be called a transfer student, there'd be called a homeless student, and you have to take them in automatically. I always think it's kind of hard to prove you're homeless
Right.
or not homeless. I don't know, we talked about that. I think we normally can tell, and the parents or whoever has the children will come and talk to us about that. There was one thing that, on the credits for homeless students, we making sure that they get their credits awarded appropriately before they enroll. Something on here on,
Yeah,
Allergies.
under admissions,
Yeah.
okay.
and there was one, I don't remember exactly where it is, but it talks about that when you are accepting a transfer student, the sending school has to send their discipline report. So you get that discipline report, and sometimes that's hard to get.
So normally what you do when you're, talking about transfer students, you just call to the previous school and just have a verbal conversation.
That's
and-
what
and-
we've been
and
doing,
now
but
they're saying-
now they're saying
Okay.
they need the actual, they must send, and we must send it, if we have a child leaving, we have to send the discipline report to the other school, not with the parent, but to the other school.
Specified time frame with that, or just?
It says when we're enrolling them, so I guess before you accept them as a transfer student, you would do that. I think there's a rule in here, the very last one on the last page, I thought they'd already done away with this. But there was a time in our school history when police could, give a ticket to a child for doing something wrong at school, or breaking a school rule, and you can't do that anymore. But I don't think we ever have done that. I thought that would be interesting. But I know that in big city schools that had police that, or they actually gave them real tickets for things that happened at school,
We did that in our high school. I was there.
so.
It was,
Did you ever get a ticket, John?
And of course, he said no.
Well, I was trying to think if we did in Longview, because we did have we had a police officer on duty all the time. And when I was in Lancaster, we actually had a police force, and, in police cars that said Lancaster ISD Police Force. And so I hope that we've always given a ticket for something bad, but not necessarily something that, like breaking a
they would
pencil.
give you a ticket for profanity, like if somebody
Mhm.
cussed in the cafeteria, they give them like a $45 fine.
I bet that stuff is crazy.
No. It made zero difference.
Probably not, but legally you can't do that anymore, so the legislature has stopped that. Okay, but this is the first reading, next time I'll ask you to approve it.
Okay, let's move on to action item 7.1 is the consideration and approval of donations and gifts to the district. We have two.
We did have two, the DeLeon Athletic Booster Club gave $2,250, and Sky High Sports gave $800 to the school district to be awarded as academic awards.
Make a motion to accept the donations from Athletic Booster Club and Sky High Sports, or High Sky Sports.
Second.
Second, Ms. Derrick. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, 6 in favor. Okay, consideration and approval of increase to pay for substitute teachers. So we'll move over to that next page and look at what's provided, what we're currently doing.
Last time we met, you all talked about $100, and then after the meeting was over, I thought, right now, we don't pay the same thing for certified that we do for non-certified. We pay $75 for non-certified and $85 for certified, and I didn't know if you wanted to make that just $100 for a substitute teacher, or if you wanna make $100 or how do you want to do it?
Okay, so at the moment, for non-certified is 75, certified is 85, and a long-term is already 100, so if someone has a maternity leave or what have you.
I think it's 20 consecutive days or something like that, then it goes to $100 a day. Or if it's like ahead of time and they've been there and they've started planning and everything, sometimes we go ahead and start them at that, since they've already invested their time and energy and everything to do that.
And she's put in here, Comanche, Pretty, Dublin, and Gustine, and as you see, Comanche, which is right beside us,
And
and the
that's
busiest community
probably
is the
not
same.
current,
Oh, okay,
probably
okay,
not current. This was in August of 2021.
oh, okay,
So,
okay. We wanna do as much, if not better, so that we can keep our subs
Well,
around
that's
up
it.
to here.
Aren't subs hard to get?
No, they're impossible.
Okay.
My wife can tell you all about that.
Yeah.
No bitch.
Well, there's the little thing, and aliens are coming, and then the principal looks up and there's a sign that says, we need subs. So that's how hard they are to get.
Well,
Will raising it help?
I think raising will help some. We have some people that will go somewhere else if they can make $10 a day or $20 a day more than they can make here. But it'll help, it will not solve it. It won't solve it.
So
But
will you
it will help.
if you increase the daily, then, I'm sorry, did you already just tell me this, what you would increase the long term to, or were you gonna leave that the same, you take 100 across the board?
I think we probably need,
You probably have to increase your long term as well.
I would think so.
What are you thinking on that one?
Well, I just think if you decide how much to raise, just do the same increment
Okay, the
for
same
all
amount.
three things.
Okay.
If that would be permissible. It won't be that much money, but it would be, it'll pay their taxes at least,
Well, okay. What are we talking about dollar-wise if we raise it $20? I mean,
Hardly.
I don't know, I know there's subs all the time, but I don't know if there's one sub or
Right.
30 subs.
There's subs every day, there's substitutes every day, and, but if you raised it $20, I think it would be really wonderful.
So, what do you just, like, what, non-certified, if you did $25 to hit 100, and then everybody 25 up from there? So, we're.
You could do it that way, you could do
What's the
25
other-
across the board,
Yeah.
each one is 25 higher.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Yes.
great.
Okay,
That'd be great.
that's good, let's.
It will help a lot. It'll help a lot. All right.
100, 110, 125.
Need a motion.
Okay, so 7.2, looking for a motion for the approval of the increase to pay for substitute teachers at those amounts. Derek, what were they again? 100, 110, and 125?
Yes, ma'am.
I so moved.
I second.
Ty.
You go down to our Russell.
So, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
second,
right now, I'm slow.
second is by Carol, is that what you said? Okay. Okay, all those in favor? So that is 6-4. Okay, all right.
Yeah, okay.
So consideration and approval to set our August 7th meeting, for the proposed 23-24 budget, and it has been suggested, for multiple reasons, that 6 P.M. would be the last time, if that's possible.
Okay.
So any discussion on that item? Anyone have any objection to August 7th?
Carrie, what if, we talked about over at the Husker Library, in case there were people who came more open.
Yeah, I
Do
think.
we wanna do that?
Yeah, I think for the August 7th meeting and the August 28th meeting, on the August 7th meeting, does anyone usually come to that, or is it only the 28th?
Some people, no, people come.
Okay. So
I
maybe for both of those, yeah, we can do it in the high school library. This August 7th one, am I correct in thinking that's almost exactly like the budget workshop? It's just, again, us just discussing it, there's no voting item?
No, it's not voting, but there'll be some things on there to vote for. There'll be, because it's a regular board meeting, we'll have the code of conduct, the code of conduct, which y'all need to vote for before school starts, we'll have that on
Okay,
there.
so that would be on the
So
7th.
there'll be some things on the agenda that will need to get done before school started,
Okay,
but,
The 28th is the fourth Monday in August, we'll move it back, so.
Correct.
the what?
28th is the fourth Monday in August, so.
we're having both of these
But
meetings.
it's the last Monday in August, isn't it?
Right.
It's the last, yeah. The reason you put it the last possible Monday in August is because you have to have it done before the 1st of September, and that gives us a little more time to have all of the things from the tax office, you know. And I called Mr. Thompson and talked about, the board meeting to propose the budget, and he said, because we talked about it at the budget workshop, and we can't do anything until we get the values. By law, we don't have to have the values before July the 25th. And usually we don't get them until then, or maybe the day or so after. But by July 25th, we should have our values and know what it'll be. But it's still not gonna mean there as much. I don't know, it's gonna be really crazy this year.
Weird.
It's gonna be really crazy trying to know what to do, knowing that this is gonna go to the voters and then be retroactive and whatever, so. But he told us, and I don't recall the numbers exactly, but he told us at the budget workshop about what he thought the tax rate would be, and it was significantly lower than what we have now, less than $1.
So he came up with about 93 cents, and that's inclusive of the INS. So it is definitely lower. Now, that valuation, that's based off of, the current valuation, so the amount is a lot lower, but if you went back and looked at what it was last year, it's still taking about $600,000 additional from the taxpayer. And so I know, but then now we have some changes, so I don't know how that will affect that, but it's less, it's 93 cents total, it was 10 cents for discuss in the August seventh
On the
meeting to
7th.
say if something's gonna change, but there's just a lot of moving
It's
parts.
proposed, and on August the 28th, it would be finalized.
Yeah, that's the one that.
And that's when we'll bring our budget amendments to you, so that we clean our budget up and get everything spent in the right line. I will tell you right now that it's been a tough year on budget, because things that we've never overspent on, like paper. Our copy paper, we're way overspent on copy paper. It's just gone up. I mean, you just can't buy it, it's almost doubled in price. A lot of things have just really, really gone out of whack, so there will be some budget amendments that we'll have to do, but I think within the budget, we're all right. I know we are.
Okay, so we're still on, 7.3, trying to set those two meetings, one on August seventh at 6 p.m. for the proposed 23-24 budget, and then again, August 28th at 7 p.m., public hearing with a regular meeting to follow. That's correct, right? Public hearing, and then you do the,
Yeah.
and then you do the regular meeting to
Let's
follow.
start at 6. Well, we just say immediately following.
Okay, so it's really starting at 6 p.m., so it says 7 here, guys, but it's gonna start at 6 p.m. and the regular meeting is to follow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And you want both of those meetings in the high school?
sure, yeah. Is that okay? The August 7th shouldn't be a problem because school's not in. What about August 28th?
Well,
They should be in the same place regardless.
they'll all be in the high school. It's just more difficult to get everything over there, but it's fine, we can do it.
Okay,
If you're concerned about the people showing up, unless normally you're gonna have maybe 5.
I think we just wanna make sure that we have space for people when they show up. We never want anyone again
And
saying.
this year's gonna be different, because last Monday, I was at the county, and in a little bit of time that they talked about, maybe 12 different budget items, they were already $100,000 over where they were last year. And that was just on 12 items.
Right.
So, I'm going to assume y'all be something similar to that. So, I don't know how people are gonna respond to that, and maybe beating on the head with a shovel and nobody may come.
Our budget's still, we've been working on it, but because we did increase the salary.
I'm not fighting our argument.
Yeah.
I'm saying that there's a weird thing going on,
Mhm.
and it's affecting every entity.
Yeah, we're not sure, but we wanna make sure that we've got seats for everyone, so anyone that wants to come's got a spot to sit.
We've never had, at these two meetings, we've never had a room full, at these two meetings. We've had, some people come, 4, 5, 6, but we've never had the room full, for those, but.
And I don't know that we've had anybody speak ever either, they usually just.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
We've had-
Chief will speak.
Yeah,
He didn't
I've
want
been
to
there
share,
when
he
they
came in and didn't say anything.
no, but sometimes they do.
Well, he actually did, he said thank you,
Yeah,
that's what they said.
but they're allowed to speak, certainly, and, but, anyway, wherever y'all want to have it, high school or here?
High school.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion on 7.3.
Make a motion to approve the meetings, August the 7th at 6 p.m. and August the 28th at 6 p.m. at the high school library.
Okay, so that is by Rachel, do we have a second?
6 p.m. on both meetings, or?
Yeah, well, one of them will be a hearing.
Because August 28th is really coming up too.
I'll second.
Okay, Jared is the second. All those in favor? Okay, 6-4. Okay, 7.4 is consideration and approval of the use of chaplains to act as a school counselor.
I put some information in there about that program. We've always used pastors when there was, an emergency of some kind. We've always called on our pastors to come in and counsel with kids as needed. This law was mainly to actually hire them to come in and act as counselors. I talked to Kay Quinn and she talked to the counseling group, and we don't foresee a time when we would want to but we'd like for you all to vote for it, so that if we wanted to have them come in and volunteer, if we had an emergency.
Couldn't they just come in as volunteers?
Well, they always have,
That's- yeah.
except that it really says in here, you have to have a board vote. And I just thought it might be nice if y'all
I
voted.
just have a big problem with this. What kind of credentials do they have after our counselors have gotten a bachelor's and a master's to do it? And then you're just saying, yeah, but you didn't really have to do that, we're gonna let this preacher do it.
That's why we're not asking y'all to hire anybody. We just want it left open so that if there was ever an emergency, we would have the right to, or feel like we can do it. We always have done it, but now that they actually have a law, when we first put it on the agenda, we were just gonna say, don't vote for it. But then we got to talking about it, and we said, if you vote not to do it, that might say that we can't do it. And so this would just leave the door open to us, so that if we had, a bad car wreck or something where multiple kids were hurt or killed, that we could call and have people there just to hold hands. But I totally agree that we, it's just.
There's a text, and this is, I'm sorry, I know I've been talking too much, but this is really what I wanted to talk about. And I agree with you 100%. And the reason I do is because I remember that $45 fine when I was in high school. We had something like this. You always have an overactive youth minister or something. And I'm not saying anything bad, but you know what I mean. And by the time all that stress as a teenager, and because I remember this, all that stuff that you deal with as a teenager, and then you have that overactive youth minister come in there and tell you how the cow eats the cabbage, who probably hasn't lived a day in their life. You know what I'm talking about? You just flat want to choke them, and you're like, I don't want to choke a preacher in school. And so you got that. As a taxpayer, I would say that it would be important to keep that in mind.
Well,
You know.
I'm gonna talk out the other side of my mouth as usual. There are hospital chaplains, there are military chaplains, and my assumption is they have some background in what it means to be non-denominational and really counsel people. I don't have a problem with that, but we're not gonna do it, so, it's moved, but thank you, John.
I totally agree, and I think that
I'm not sure.
our counseling staff does a wonderful job of counseling kids and being with kids. And by the way, with the new rules, in effect, our counselors are gonna look a whole much more like counselors than testers in the future. They'll still have to help with testing some, but they're gonna have to log their time in, and I think even at this August 7th meeting, we're planning to bring that to you. There's a log that counselors are going to have to keep, and it has to be adopted by the board and whatever. So I think Kay's planning to bring that at the next meeting. This is just to leave the door open, so if we did have a major emergency where we had to have, we would first call on counselors from other school districts, because we do that for each other, and we would first do that, but sometimes things are really, really bad. I'm sure that probably Uvalde and Sandy Hook and those places probably needed every set of hands that they could get, not to tell kids how they felt, but just to hold hands and listen.
This first paragraph here says, services and programs for students as assigned by the board of trustees. So would that mean we would have some latitude to determine what that would look like if it were an extreme situation, and maybe decide who maybe has some kind of training or background?
Well, right now, we always rely on Kay Quinn to make that choice, and she is wonderful and very perceptive. And since I've been here, we've not used any chaplain type counselors at all.
We just, if and when she's gone, this is still in play, just wanted to see if we would maybe get some say in that if we got to
Absolutely.
that point.
So I think that if something big enough were to happen, that is kind of one of those moments where an emergency meeting takes place, and we do kind of have a quick
we
session
have
as to, hey, here's the game plan, so I guess that's kind of
Yeah.
what that's.
That's what it sounds like.
I feel like if the board is conflicted on this is one of those things where we could do nothing and visit again later.
We do not have to do it tonight. I think we have 6 months to make up our minds on this. I just thought, we're having
To get it done before.
There wasn't a lot on the agenda. We can go ahead and get it out of the way, but.
So that's an option. You can make a motion and we can vote, or we can just kind of let it down and let it come back before the 6 months is over, or do we need to officially table it? I think
If you table it, it has to
Yeah,
come back.
automatically.
If you table it, it has to come back. If you just don't vote, it doesn't come back.
but you need it to come back within 6 months, is that correct?
Yeah, we can put it back on.
Could you have some sort of policy that established when that would be proper? And then it would be easier to accept, I think.
Because can pretty much anyone say they're a chaplain or they're a preacher or something like that, and you don't necessarily know?
And in an emergency situation, do you have time to background check? You know what I mean?
It's just sticky.
It is, you just,
And I don't wanna be that person, cause I mean, you want the help and you want that, you know that is not everyone, we're not talking about everyone, or even, but.
How can we do like John said, put some kind of, standard operating procedure on who it is that we do select?
why not, here's a suggestion.
We could
If
table it.
somebody could just table it, then it would have to come back.
And then we could get more
Table it
specific
with,
language.
providing that we come back with guidelines.
Can I make a motion to table it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Make a motion to table the consideration approval of use of chaplains till our next meeting.
Need a second on that motion?
Can you say future meeting and maybe,
September meeting?
At a future meeting.
Yeah.
At a future meeting.
that way it gives us some time to get teachers back and get things done.
Okay, I can put that second.
Second.
Second is Heath. All those in favor? Okay, 6 in favor for tabling item 7.4. Number 8, personnel.
Well, as I said, we are staff. We've hired a new teacher for the elementary school. Diane Dale is our new music teacher. I've met her. She's very upbeat and, has lots of ideas. And so, we'll see. She's been here several times and working in her room and very, very excited. She comes to us from Colorado, and, so she's working on getting her certification switched over from Colorado to Texas, but she is here.
What does she have to do that? Take Texas history?
I think she has to take Texas history to do that. I think that's what it is. Until then, she'll be working on, like, I teach Texas.
We acknowledge. Is there anything else before we adjourn? Okay.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Terry?
Okay, if I don't hear from you, I assume that everybody who's taken has watched the video.
I've watched it.
I've watched
I have to,
Okay.
I did today.
I did it today.
But we will.
Okay, you will. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tell Ally to go ahead and do that. And,